Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:07 on this Friday morning in the nation's capital. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company. We're getting a developing story now out of Moscow that a car bomb has killed a senior Russian military officer, according to Russian officials. Wow. That's something to keep an eye on, and as we get more details on that, we'll let you know. 7:35, Emma Waters, Heritage Foundation. We'll discuss that topic we just had a nice exchange over, the idea of the government encouraging babies being born with the $5,000 payment. And then at 8:35, Kurt Schlichter. He needs no encouragement from the government to do anything. But he does have a new book out. We're going to talk about the new book and about the news of the day. And Congressman Vindman apparently wearing a full bird colonel pin when he goes to work in Congress, even though he did not retire as a full bird colonel. Kurt Schlichter did retire as a full bird colonel, so we might ask him about that and more. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it.
It is a happy Friday for most people here as we venture into what should be a beautiful weekend, except for those of you who are on the Virginia Beltway on the inner loop there by the Dulles Toll Road. It is very ugly, but we're keeping you up to speed on developments there with Jamie Whitten every 10 minutes on the fives, as we say in the biz. Joining us right now is Rachel Feinstein. Now, she has a good title. Listen to this one. I do love it when I have to take a deep breath before introducing somebody. Director of D.C. Government and Community Relations for the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington. That's not bad, Rachel. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So Georgetown University, boy, they really threw the Jewish community a bone here. They were going to vote on these BDS measures. That's basically the gateway drug to ending up having Hamas do an encampment on your quadrangle to support the terrorist attacks in Israel. So you start with the BDS vote, and then they realized that the vote was scheduled during Passover. So they said, oh, maybe we should delay this. So they threw you a bit of a bone there, but this vote is now rescheduled for April 26th. That's today. It's happening this weekend. What is this about? And tell me what the repercussions are if the Georgetown University student government actually moves forward with this BDS vote.
Sure. So to start, this will not be a binding vote. The student vote is more of an expression of this is what we would like the university to do, but the university is not required to do what the resolution dictates. And the resolution appears to be an expression of a morality type of situation of the students wanting
or lack of morality, depending on what the case may be.
Exactly, or lack thereof. And the students wanting to express that they, quote unquote, do not want to support an occupation and a genocide, quote unquote, and want the university to divest from companies like Alphabet and Amazon, even though the university has $55 million in investments in those stocks, and for the university to no longer cooperate in academic exchange of ideas and programs with Israeli universities, which is just flat out an invasion of academic freedoms at that point.
Yeah.
You know, what's interesting, Rachel, sorry, I was looking at this article, looking at kind of the differences in universities, how at some universities, this movement, the BDS movement, is really picking up steam, especially as it's marrying itself to a lot of these pro-Hamas protests, so on and so forth. But other campuses have really been successful. And I think about historically black colleges and universities, these HBCUs. You would assume that because these are black students and a lot of black students have somehow aligned themselves with like this anti-Zion, anti-Israel movement, and with Hamas, with a pro-Palestinian movement, that you wouldn't see, you'd expect that it to be the same kind of positioning at HBCUs, and it's not. And from what I understand, it has a lot to do with just the engagement of groups like yours and other Jewish communities into these campuses to really build and foster those relationships. Do you think, I would think at a school like at Georgetown or even Harvard, all of the Ivies where there is such a strong, prominent Jewish presence that should be enough to stamp out this kind of BDS movement. Why do you think it is, though, that it's continuing to pick up steam?
You would think so, wouldn't you? But Georgetown and other Ivies, I think some of these students, I think it comes from a place of privilege. And when we talk about Israel, even in the Jewish community, it's a privilege to not need a country to flee to, or to have in the back of your mind, I need a passport ready just in case something happens and I need to flee to Israel. That is something that Jewish people do think about, and it's in the back of our minds given our history of persecution. And I think some students who, especially who are attending some of these schools that have a very high price tag, are coming from a place of not having that need of a place to flee to, and just don't understand the repercussions of making Jewish students feel unsafe and to be physically unsafe on these campuses.
Rachel Feinstein's our guest from the Jewish Community Relations Council. We're talking about Georgetown moving toward this BDS movement, which sort of, this started like 10 years ago, but it was sort of the entree on our campuses to the horrible anti-Semitism that we're seeing right now play out in the Ivies. What's the faculty like at Georgetown University? They can read the room, they see what's going on, and they see that the Trump administration is being very proactive in terms of federal funding for these campuses. Will they listen to the Georgetown Student Union on this?
I think that's something that is in the back of the minds of the faculty of that, especially with us being located here in our nation's capital. There's actually a new Georgetown faculty coalition that was started by Rabbi Alana Zietman just recently in support of Israel, called the Committee for the Integrity of Academic Institutions as Centers of Learning. Another lengthy title, but I think captures the moment. But faculty, for the first time at Georgetown, have created a pro-Israel coalition. I don't think it's in reaction to President Trump's policies and oversight. I think it's just seeing that things are not right now at Georgetown.
Annual tuition at Georgetown University for this academic year, $71,000 a year. That's what you're paying for if you're sending your kid or thinking of sending your kid to Georgetown. If you are in that situation right now, as graduation from high school is occurring now, and lots of high school graduates are getting their acceptance to colleges and universities, you might want to let Georgetown know that if they go along with this anti-Semitic movement, that's $71,000 that they're not going to get from you. Rachel, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks for having me.
It is 7:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Ah, yes. It's just one Amtrak trip north of us. With a few stops if you're taking the Acela, a few more stops if you're a normal person like me. But you can get up there to New York, New York. The city's so nice they named it twice. It's a fine town. They've got some theater there, I'm told. One thing about New York, though, that I think we can all agree on, whether you like going to New York or you don't like going to New York, New York has a certain, what can I say, aroma. There's a certain... It's sort of baked in the cake.
Pungent odor.
There it is. My little daughter, who's going to get married a week from now, I'll never forget when we went to New York one time. I used to bring my kids to New York all the time. We'd see our friends, people I used to work with, go to theater. I introduce my kids to the arts pretty early, like my dad for me. And I'll never forget little Veronica, who's now a naval officer and about to get married. We're walking down the street, and my oldest daughter, Quinn, who works in theater now, is like, "This is the best city. I love this place. Look at that. Look at that building. Look at all these people. Look at it." She's like just soaking in New York. She loves it.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, Veronica, I'm walking, I'm holding her hand, and she looks up at me, and I said, "Veronica, what do you think of New York?" And she said, "New York smells bad."
She is not wrong.
That's her entire assessment. And she's not wrong. New York does smell bad. All right. So that's why it's kind of strange to me that there is a brand new advertising phenomenon in Manhattan, in New York City. These are sort of billboards on the sides of buildings that are scratch and sniff. All right, and it's
Oh no! Oh my
yeah.
goodness! No way.
And it's not just scratch and sniff. This is an advertisement for body lotions and deodorants, and then it has pictures of people's armpits.
Oh,
and you can
gross.
Scratch the person's armpit and then take in a big whiff of apparently this product. Let me tell you something.
Oh my gosh!
Just ride on the number 3 Express uptown in the summer, and you'll smell plenty of armpits for free. You don't need to scratch anybody.
Absolutely. This is gross. Okay, so this is brought to us by the brand Billy. They're trying to make a name for themselves to stand out against.
Let me just say, mission accomplished, Billy. You got your free moment on WMAL to talk about your stupid product.
They're all about body positivity, which means embrace fat and show fat and you know, and all of that stuff. And so this is their way of getting a lot of attention. I think it is absolutely dangerous from a public health standpoint to have a bunch of random strangers who may be carrying who knows what go up to a wall, sniff, maybe even leave a lot of their mucus on the wall, and then just people keep going up there and touching it and then sniffing and releasing their body mucuses. Like, are we not worried about measles? Are we not worried about airborne issues, diseases being spread, and even other things being spread through this body positivity thing? I mean, I think it's just ridiculous.
If some virus starts spreading in New York, measles, mumps, whatever, please don't blame RFK Jr. for it, okay? Blame Billy.
Blame Billy.
Billy, this is all Billy's fault, the Billy virus. Meanwhile, in New York, we were just talking about, you know, having babies, right? And in New York, you know, New Yorkers they're kind of aliens in many respects, but they do like to have babies just like the rest of us. And the millennial generation in New York, these are people, so millennials are not, this is weird to think of, but millennials are between the age of 29 and 42.
44, thank you very much. I'm not 44, but my husband is, and he's the beginning of the generation.
So he's Gen X. He's my generation.
He's millennial. He's the very start of the millennials. We just,
well, it says here 20. All right, well, I'm saying 29, 42. All right.
Okay.
Either way, the millennials in New York who are having babies now, and they've got toddlers, and they can't give up their old ways. They want to relive the late 90s and early 2000s, and so they're now having what's referred to as baby raves. That's right. You're in your mid-30s, you're a mother and father, you've got an 18-month-old in your little baby Bjorn strapped to your front, and you're taking them to a rave so you can drop some Molly and get fried out while you're listening to Foo Fighters. This is not appropriate parental behavior.
I almost was going to give it a thumbs up. If it is a way to encourage other millennials to have babies. I mean, imagine you go out to a party, there's the music is bumping, then you start seeing one dad with a baby strapped to his chest. You're like, that's weird. But then you start seeing another and another mom and some toddlers, and it's like, oh wait, I can be older and have kids and still have a life. Now, when you introduce the drugs and the alcohol, that's where it turns bad. But I mean, I think there is something about seeing kids in our daily lives, like J.D. Vance and those cute boys at the White House all the time. I'm not mad at it, Larry.
Well, I hear you, and I'm overstating the case. These are family-friendly events, and there's no drugs involved that we know of.
Okay, good.
Although, you know, you see this whole thing is like, hey, we're going to have a baby rave. And it's like, hey, I've got a better idea. How about you grow up? But the family-friendly events, apparently, instead of playing Foo Fighters or, your favorite NSYNC boy band or whatever, they're having remixes of songs like Wheels on the Bus.
No,
and the music is at levels safe for children with flashing rainbow-colored lights slow enough as to not overwhelm the youngsters. So it's a rave, but it's got all of the elements of a rave eliminated from it. So it's not really a rave.
They ruined it.
It's a gymboree is what it is. It's a really bad version of gymboree. There you go.
Well, I take back my endorsement. I take back my endorsement, Larry. Like, the point is, I want to see NSYNC and Backstreet. I want to listen and just, I mean, that ruins it.
Although, to be fair, if you're in New York and your choice is going to a baby rave or scratching and sniffing someone's armpit, I would opt for the former and not the latter.
Baby rave.
It is 7:24.
All right, coming up, we've been talking about the baby bonus all morning long. Well, coming up next, Emma Waters from the Heritage Foundation will be here to join us. She's going to take our questions, and let's see what she has to say. How does she defend this policy? Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 7:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:36 on O'Connor and Company this Friday.
Yay!
In your nation's capital. I'm glad you're in a good mood. Coming up at 8:35, he always puts me in a good mood. Kurt Schlichter, senior columnist at Town Hall, retired Army colonel. He's got a brand new book out, but we'll also talk about the news of the day with the colonel. It's all coming up. That's the effervescent Patrice Onwuka.
Good morning and happy Friday, everybody.
I'm the grumpy, curmudgeonly Larry O'Connor. Because I'm about to be known as the father of the bride, and it's freaking me out. Emma Waters is at the Heritage Foundation and has been analyzing this idea that the White House has come up with to encourage families to have babies. Emma, first of all, you need no encouragement. You're a mom. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you procreating without a financial incentive. That means a lot to us. She, by the way, is a policy analyst in the Center for Technology and the Human Person over at Heritage. So, Emma, sort of break this down. First of all, do we in America have to start having more babies? Is this as critical as the numbers suggest?
It really is. So as of 2023, the birth rate declined to the lowest that it's been in recent history at an average of 1.62 births per woman. Now, that is well below the replacement rate of about 2.1 births per woman on average. And while that may just seem like CDC numbers meant to fearmonger you in one direction or the other, the reason this really matters is that without children, you don't have a healthy and growing nation. So there are already a number of K-12 schools and universities that are downsizing in preparation for declining birth rates in the next couple of years. You have it affecting military readiness, overall GDP, elder care, Social Security. The list really goes on and on. So when we're thinking about declining birth rates, this isn't just a matter of, a few people have decided not to have children, but we're talking about a civilizational and national shift away from children, such that millennials are on track to not marry at very high rates. And right now, Gen Z is projected to have about 1/3 of the population never marry at all. And we know that marriage and baby making go hand in hand.
Well, Emma, I'm glad that you put it that way, because I think we're in 100% agreement that we need to encourage marriage as part of the conversation of having babies. That said, we've seen baby bonuses tried in other countries like Australia, like Hungary, where there is an initial big bump at the beginning. Maybe people delay their having that baby so that they could get that bonus, but then over time it's not enough to actually reverse the generational declines, which I would argue are very much about cultural differences in women choosing not to have kids, delaying kids until they can only have one or two at most, and you pick up on the marriage rate. So tell me how the baby bump, the baby bonus, is going to change those generations.
Did we lose Patrice there, Professor? I think we did lose. I'm sorry, Emma, but I think you got the essence of her question there. Did we lose Emma as well? We might have an internet connection problem at the radio station, but hopefully everybody can still hear me. We were in the conversation with Emma Waters of Heritage Foundation. For those of you who aren't familiar with this topic, the Trump administration is floating the idea. Nothing's been put in stone and nothing has been established, but the president was asked about this during one of his Oval Office gaggles, and he said, yeah, he likes the idea of $5,000 for all newborn babies, to the family of the newborn babies, of course, to increase the population and increase the birth rate in our country. There is no denying that there is a population crunch right now in this country. The population crunch can be alleviated. And by the way, that crunch is lack of population, lack of birth rate. Every Western nation is facing this right now. Other countries, not known as Western nations, they're not having this problem. They're making plenty of babies. Ironically, the Western countries like the United States, Western Europe, we have these social government programs that require more and more babies to be born to be able to prop them up and keep our economy chugging. We're not doing that. So there's there's three solutions. The first solution is cut all of those programs. Show me the politician who's going to win an election saying he's going to do that. The second solution is to have more babies. The third solution is to import people from other countries. Guess what we've been doing? Guess what we've been doing for the last couple of decades? The last option, importing people. That comes with its own challenges, as we've seen in this country. And by the way, still hasn't really alleviated the problem, hasn't alleviated the financial crunch that we're facing. We're hitting a cliff here. And so that's why the Trump administration is floating this idea. J.D. Vance, a huge proponent of it. And it's also been implemented in other countries as well, like Hungary. And that is to pay money to encourage more babies to be born. I would also argue that there's other solutions that be connected to that, including, making it easier for parents to raise their children and be at home, encourage work-at-home policies across the map, encourage the deregulation of a lot of the things that make having a baby and having children more expensive than it needs to be in this country. And, oh, by the way, while you're at it, fix the education system in this country so people who are facing having babies right now don't have to think, oh, sure, we have a baby, and then we put our kid into a public school and they become an indoctrinated, trans-loving socialist. Yeah, you start fixing things like that, and it'll be pretty family-friendly in this nation. There's more to come. It's O'Connor and Company, 743.
Tune into WMAL on Saturdays at 5:30 a.m. for the All-American Book Club Show with political veteran Eden Gordon Hill. Explore ideas and stories not driven by the mainstream media agenda as pro-America books and authors from around the country are featured each week. Eden Gordon Hill arms her listeners with the knowledge and insight needed to fight back in the war on our freedoms. So tune in Saturdays at 5:30 a.m. on 105.9 FM, the WMAL app, or online at WMAL.com.
Well, the scene is still a solemn one over at the Vatican, St. Peter's Basilica, as the remains of Pope Francis lie in state, and pilgrims and believers and well-wishers walk past the casket. They've had to keep St. Peter's open almost 24/7. I think they shut down for like an hour. The demand has been so high. Everybody wants to pay their respects and see the remains of the pontiff. And as they're waiting, as you can imagine, Patrice, long lines, lots of waiting.
Oh, sure.
And the faithful have spontaneously prayed together and sung together. Here's a little sound of them singing while they wait. It's a beautiful faith and that I belong to, and I'm very proud to be Catholic, especially at times like this where we have the world stage and you can see the beauty and pageantry of how we go about our worship practices. Now the downside, something I'm not very proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, as people are going up and seeing the casket, and the Pope's body is there for all to see and contemplate over, people then turn around, hold up their smartphones, and take a selfie. They're taking
that's selfish.
Selfies with the dead Pope. What? This is there is wrong, and then there's, oh, hell no, that's wrong. And this one falls in the second camp. What are people thinking?
They're not. I mean, but this is the generation, the culture we live in, where if I don't have a picture with my face in it, then it didn't happen. It's absolutely disrespectful, and I think it should be discouraged by the clergy there. I mean, they may have to ban cell phones if needed when you get to a certain part of the line. I don't know, but that's ridiculous.
Why does one need a picture anyway of the moment? It's you're experiencing the moment. Just remember the moment. Whether your face is in the picture or not, I assure you there are plenty of photographs from professional photographers taking a picture of the moment. It's going to look better than your little snapshot on your
but
on your
it's
iPhone.
to prove that, I was there. That kind of I think it's so self-centered, and it's just disgusting,
insane.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, the funeral ceremony will take place tomorrow. They've now announced officially Saturday, April 26th. It'll be held outdoors in front of St. Peter's Basilica. It'll, of course, be a high mass. Prince William will be there. Keir Starmer, the PM, will be there. Vladimir Zelensky will be there. Javier Milei will be there. Giorgia Meloni will be there. And President and First Lady Trump will be there. It's going to be quite a scene. And then the conclave begins, and it's game on for who the next pope will be.
So, watching. Joe Biden is not going to be there? I thought he was friends with the Pope enough to tell him, knock it off.
Only one corpse allowed at a funeral at a time. It's 7:54.